Touya was an ugly, lonely loser who got struck by lightning one day and died. He appeared in front of God, who apologized to him for the mistake, as he was just trying to impress his jerk friend Zeus, but failed to control the lightning bolt to compensate for his early death. God allows him to get reincarnated in a world full of magic, and even allows him to carry his smartphone with him, because of his obsession with TikTok baddies. As he wakes up in his new world, God starts immediately calling him and tells him that he can call him whenever he wants. Touya cuts the call and starts walking when suddenly a horse carriage stops in front of him, and a midget gets off and rushes towards him. The midget seems to be impressed by his fancy modern clothes, so he takes him to his shop inside of the town, where the midget pays him to do strip in front for him before handing him some normal clothes according to their world. After getting a little bit assaulted, Touya seems to be doing good as he uses his Google Maps to find a cheap motel. While walking past an alley, he notices two girls having an argument against two ugly fucks who seem to have come out of a pride parade with a glass schlong in their hands. They seem to be underpaying the girls by giving them less money than what the schlong is worth, so Touya decides to interfere and tells the girls that he will buy it for a gold coin. Immediately after that, he picks a stone and breaks the beautiful schlong into pieces, which enrages the guys and they attack him. Thankfully for him, God ended up raising his stats quite a bit so that the only thing that is powerful enough to kill him is thick girl's thighs. The first guy tries to stab him, but his spidey senses kick in and he easily dodges and elbows him to the ground, while the girls deal with the other guy. After that, he goes over to the girls and hands them a gold coin for the broken schlong, while the girls introduce them as Elze and Leens, who are twins who work in this town. He asks the twins do they know any place where he can stay, and the girls take him to a nearby motel. After reaching the motel, he instantly uses his riz on the receptionist, making the twins jealous. Over some tea, Elze tells Touya that they can go to the Adventurers Guild tomorrow, and they all leave for a good night's sleep. The next day, Touya and the girls go over to the guild, where Touya realizes that he can't read anything. Linze calls him an illiterate bastard, while Elze gets a quest to kill some wolves in the forests. After registering, they get a sword for Touya and then head out into the forest where they get surrounded by the menacing wolves. The wolf tries to attack Elze, but she punches him, while Touya uses his sword to cut his wolf into two pieces, and Linze decides to barbecue her wolf with her fire magic, which surprises Touya. After collecting the horns from these wolves, they return back to the guild where they sell the horns for money. While they relax with some tea, Touya asks the girls to help teach him about this world and how magic is used. Elze says that his dumbass can never use magic as only people who have mana can use magic, and the rest of them normies just have to use normal weapons for the fights. He asks Linze whether there is a way to find out whether he has mana, and she takes out some crystals she just cooked up. She picks up one of the crystals and chants a spell which makes her wetter than a waterfall. Elze takes the crystal from her and chants the same magic spell, but nothing happens as she is also a useless normie who doesn't have much mana. Touya takes the crystal from her hands before chanting a magic spell, and because of his unlimited riz, the crystal gets super wet and water starts gushing out of it, which mesmerized the girls, so they take him outside to try out some other crystals. One by one, he tries all of the crystals in front of him, and turns out that God really liked him and gave him the aptitude for all 6 of the elements, which has never been heard before. He then picks up a weirdly colored crystal, and Linze tells him that this is for null magic, which some people have, including Elze, who can boost her own strength to beat people up. He decides to give it a go as well, and to their surprise, he is able to create a portal through the air into a completely different area, basically unlocking fast travel. After all these shenanigans, they go back inside, and the landlady alongside her friend, who is also a cafe owner, approached them and asked for a dessert recipe to beat the heat. Touya asks her whether she sells ice cream, which none of them has ever heard of before. So he uses his phone to find out a recipe and starts making it while calling Elze an idiot sandwich. The ice cream turned out to be a hit, and it rizzed them up enough that he won't have to sleep alone tonight, unlike all of you. The next day, they decide to take a leisurely walk through the city together and end up hearing a bunch of shouting where a crowd was gathered. They immediately rush towards it, only to find a samurai girl dressed in pink, facing off against a bunch of goons. 2 of the ugly-looking thugs try to attack her, but she has been binge-watching the new season of Baki and kicks their ass with ease. Before she can regain her composure, one of the thugs creeps up behind her with a sword and tries to attack her, but Touya uses earth magic and throws sand at his eyes before drop-kicking him in the face. Elze also accompanies him and quickly gets rid of the final few thugs before they all run and hide in an alleyway. The samurai girl thanks them for their help and introduces herself as Yi, who seems to be hungry, so Touya takes them to a restaurant where she starts stuffing her mouth with all kind of junk food. She explains that she belongs to a family of warriors from the nearby kingdom and is traveling to learn new martial arts. They talk for a bit, and Touya uses his unlimited riz, and she ends up joining his harem for no reason. After lunch, they end up getting on the horse carriage and start traveling through the forests, while Touya tries to learn new types of null magic through a book that Linze gave him. He ends up learning a spell which gives him the ability to pull anything back towards him. He tries it on the headband that Yae was wearing, and it ends up working, which gives him confidence to learn a spell that can increase his smelling sense even more. As soon as he does that, he gets the smell of blood coming from nearby. So they immediately rush towards that area and find a bunch of lizard monsters surrounding some men. Linze immediately uses a huge explosion spell to blast the monsters, while Elze jumps in with her punches and Yae with her sword. While killing the monsters, Yae trips and falls, giving the monster an opportunity to attack. But Touya uses a spell which makes the monster slip and fall, while Yae immediately kills it. After that, they thought that the monsters were defeated. A hooded guy starts summoning more monsters, while Elze and Yae rush in for an attack. Sadly, they are totally outnumbered by the monsters, but Linze tells Touya to kill the hooded guy if they want to stop this madness. So Touya decides to bully him by using his slip magic, making him fall down on his ass a few times till he is captured. After the battle was over, the men under attack came up to Touya and thanked him for his assistance. But before he could say anything, they heard shouting voices coming from a carriage. Touya and the others immediately rush towards the carriage only to find an old butler bleeding on the floor, while a girl cries for him, telling Touya to save him as he was shot by an arrow. Linze tells Touya that she cannot use healing magic till the arrow is taken out of his chest. Linze gets impressed by his pull-out game as he extracts the arrow head before healing him back to full health. After all was done, the girl thanks him for his service, and the butler tells them that the girl is a princess, which immediately results in everyone getting down on their knees. But Touya is a Giga Chad, and he doesn't give a shit about hierarchy. The princess introduces herself as Sushi, and tells Touya to be her bodyguard and accompany her to the royal capital, for which he will be paid very well. Touya agrees, and all of them move towards the royal capital in their carriages. They finally reach the royal palace and are stunned to see that it's even bigger than they expected. Sushi's father comes down to greet them, and gets down on his knees to honk Touya's massive trumpet in return for saving the life of his beloved daughter. Later that evening, they sit down for some tea, and the man starts telling Touya about his sad life, as his wife is a starfish in bed, and people are trying to kidnap Sushi to hold her for ransom. By that time, Sushi also arrives at the table, and tells her father to not trash talk about her mom, as she is basically Helen Keller. This surprises Touya, and he asks more about it. But the guy tells him that she suddenly lose her vision because of watching too much TikTok a couple of years ago, and the only person who could have saved her eyes was her grandfather, who had the null magic to cure diseases. But as soon as he heard that her granddaughter was a degenerate TikTok user, he ended up dying of shock. Hearing this, the girls look at Touya, as he has a wide array of null magic. So he decides to try it on the Duchess, only if she is a tigressa. The Duke takes her to his wife, who is ready to rumble in the bed, but Touya is a gentleman and always takes girls out to dinner first, so he tells her to sit up and then uses a spell from the magic book of Kama Sutra, which ends up healing her eyes completely, and for the first time in years, she is able to see the ugly face of her husband, reminding her why she married rich. After that, they all sit down for a second round of tea like some posh-ass hats, while the Duke offers them 40 platinum coins for saving his daughter and healing his wife's eyesight. The girls are shocked at this, as 1 platinum coin is equal to 10 gold coins, which is enough money to get a handy below the table for the rest of his life. The Duke also gives them a bunch of medals that will let them pass through any territory uninterrupted. After that, they all get back into their carriage and start their journey back home. The next day, Touya and his harem of girls wander out into the town to roam around and look for something interesting to do. While wandering around the area, Touya notices that this town seems to be filled with degenerate furries. He looks at Elze and asks her about them, and she replies that in this world, the furries are considered to be cute and not creepy. Touya finds this very interesting and proceeds to look around the area when he spots a sad-looking furry girl on the street. He goes up to her, hoping to add her into his harem, but the girl gets immediately alert and starts backing off and asks Touya what he wants. She tells him that she has gotten separated from her sister, but she doesn't want to take Toya's help because she doesn't trust him. Touya immediately whips out his iPhone, flexing on her before showing her his TikTok thirst traps. This sways her off her feet and she ends up trusting him. After that, with the help of Google Maps on his phone, he is able to find her sister and returns the girl safely. The sister thanks him for his help, while Touya and the others leave to explore the city some more. Elze suggests that they should do some shopping, and Touya immediately agrees before telling them to go their separate ways and meet at the inn sometime later. By the time evening falls, everyone is back at the inn waiting, while Touya is still missing. Finally, after a while, he comes back running towards them. The girls don't really care, as they are super impressed by the awesome coat he is wearing that makes him look like a level 80 mob boss. The next morning, he comes down for some breakfast, but at the request of some jobless losers like you. He ends up opening up his crafting table and creates a chessboard so they can pass some time. While he was asking the owner of the motel whether she would want to tumble in the weeds tonight, Yae and Elze entered the motel from the outside with umbrellas as it was raining. Elze tells Touya that he needs to visit the Duke today, so they brought a bunch of cakes for him to present to the Duke. Touya totally forgot about his appointment, so he thanks her and goes over to the Duke's mansion to meet him. They all eat a bunch of cake while the Duke invites him for a game of Japanese chess as well, and this time he cannot refuse. Touya and the Duke play for a long while, so after getting bored, the princess starts annoying and tickling Touya. Touya puts her to sleep before bidding farewell to the Duke and returns back for a good night's sleep. The next morning, Touya, Elze, Linze, and Yae all go to the Royal Guild, where they find an enormous number of quests on the board. Touya selects one of the quests for them, which involves a slime, while thinking about all the plot he will get to witness, but the girls refuse immediately. After that, he picks up a different quest, which involves defeating a headless knight. After reaching the ruins, they quickly spot the knight, and Yae runs after him before the knight attacks her and their swords clash. Elze immediately jumps in and delivers 2 massive punches before kicking him away. To their surprise, the knight gets up again and throws his head towards Yae, who blocks it with her sword and throws it back at the knight, who gets kicked to the ground by Elze once again. Before he could get up this time, Linze ends up using her ice magic to freeze him to the ground, while Touya uses a massive light magic attack and stabs him with a bunch of light spears, killing him immediately. After the quest was completed, they all sit down for some well-deserved rest, and while resting, Touya remembers something he always wanted to do and gets up to use his magic to find the MILFs in his area, but turns out there aren't any. After that, he decides to use his disco magic to search for any treasure nearby. Thankfully, he senses an ancient relic hidden somewhere deep in the ruins, which excites the other girls as well, so they all go on a hunt to find it. They all reach the place where the aura is coming from, but find it buried under the rubble. But Linze is on a 30-kill streak and drops a nuke on the rubble, totally demolishing the rocks nearby and revealing the huge gate. They all enter the gate and find themselves going down a dark staircase deep inside of the dungeons. Linze uses her light magic to illuminate the way, while Elze and Yae are too scared and hiding behind Touya. After walking for a while, they finally reach a wall with a bunch of scriptures drawn on it, which the featherbrained Touya can't read, so he asks Linze to translate it. Surprisingly, even she is unable to read it, as it is a very ancient text, so Touya decides to take B-reels on his phone and then moves ahead inside of the dungeon. After moving deeper, they find a wall with an earth stone embedded inside of it, which needs to be activated by using earth magic, which only Touya possesses. Everyone backs off the area while Touya uses his earth magic, and after a huge rumble, the door lights up and finally opens. They all move inside to find a weird fossil inside, and when Touya wipes the dust off it, he finds some glass beneath it with a red core. Suddenly, the light ball that was in the air starts fading, while the red core starts getting brighter by the second, and finally, in pure darkness, the fossil starts glowing and converts into an insect-like creature, creating a huge sound which forces our party to cover their ears as they realize the dungeon is going to collapse. Touya creates a wormhole through which they all escape towards the outside just before the insect becomes a damn creeper and explodes. For a few moments they think that they are safe, but suddenly the ground starts shaking and a huge explosion takes place through which the insect emerges and immediately attacks Touya, who barely dodges it. Linze quickly uses her fire magic to create arrows and shoots it towards the creature, but it simply absorbs the fire energy and uses it as food. Yae gets triggered by how fat he is, and her fat phobia leads her to attack the insect with her sword, which barely scratches the hard shell while she is knocked back. Elze decides to show how much of a girl boss she is and attacks the insect, only to get forced back when the insect decides to become a helicopter. Touya realizes these paras are useless, so he uses his slip magic to make the insect slip, while Linze uses her ice magic to summon the iceberg that sank the Titanic, and drops it over the monster. Following this, Elze runs back at the insect to get her revenge and kicks the ice to break all of its legs. They all start celebrating, but the insect says psych witch and elongates one of its limbs to stab Elze's shoulder. It tries to hurt her again, but she keeps dodging and running away before hiding behind a rock. Touya quickly follows her and uses his healing magic while Yae tries to attack the insect again, only to fail, while Linze with her balls of steel uses her titanic iceberg once again on the monster. To their horror, the monster is an absolute unit and gets back up again. But this time Touya suddenly remembers that he is the main character and uses his strong pull-out game to snatch the core of the insect before tossing an alley-oop to Elze, who loves crushing balls. The monster immediately stops moving and withers away into the quantum realm. After all was over, they decide to head back over to the Duke's place to report this new development, and Touya shows some pictures of the ruins that he clicked, and the Duke promises to have them checked. After bidding farewell, our heroes decide to head back to their motel for a dreamless night. The next morning, Touya uses his magic to print out all the pictures in an album, and uses his hole to arrive at the Duke's mansion, only to find him hurriedly leaving in his carriage. The Duke immediately gets out and walks up to Touya, telling him that they need his help as his brother, the king, has been poisoned. Touya gets inside of the carriage while the Duke tells him that they suspect the neighboring kingdom wants the king to die so that her young daughter gets the throne, who can be easily defeated. They arrive at the palace, and while on the staircase they meet a guy named Count Fatty. Fatty tells the Duke that the messenger from the neighboring kingdom is suspected and asks whether they should execute her. But the Duke tells him no and moves on, while Touya makes him slip as he hates fat people. Following that, they reach the king's bedroom where he is lying on the bed, and the Duke immediately sends Touya ahead to deal with the problem. Touya goes ahead and uses his recovery magic to completely nullify the poison and heal the king. Everyone around them is totally surprised by this, as the first princess named Yumi immediately hugs her father. The king's family thanks him, while the green-haired royal mage starts coming on to Touya and tells him that she wants to learn all about the spells that come out of his magic wand. Not only that, but it seems that every girl in the room instantly creams their pants for Touya. The king immediately changes the topic and asks the general about the culprit. They present the culprit in front of him, and it turns out to be the sister of the girl Touya helped some time ago. He tells the king that he knows the girl and doesn't think she has poisoned him, so the general takes him to the king's room and offers him a drink. Touya refuses, as he is not a degenerate alcoholic, and instead uses his magic to search for the poison and immediately detects the source. He asks the general to call everyone to the room alongside Count Fatty. After a while, everyone is gathered inside the room and Touya pours some wine to the general, who drinks it without any problem. This means that the wine wasn't poisoned, so he then pours some wine in the king's glass and offers it to Fatty, who refuses to drink. But the general forces his mouth open and makes him gulp it down. Immediately, the Fatty starts shitting his pants, thinking that he drank wine from the poisoned glass. But Touya tells him not to worry, as he removed the poison from the glass. Everyone looks at him, while he explains that Fatty put some poison in only the king's glass in order to gain more power, and that Olga the furry is blameless. The queen and Yumi both seem to be getting really sweaty because of their steamy thoughts for Touya, while the Fatty tries to run away. But Touya simply uses his slip magic to make him fall down, which makes the princess reach nirvana. After that, they all settle down for some tea, and while Touya was talking to the king, Yumi suddenly stands up and declares that she has made a decision and would like to marry Touya, as she likes guys who give her zero attention. Everyone gets shocked at this, including Touya, but the king's family starts celebrating her decision and talk about throwing parties, while Touya, like a true Sigma male, rejects her offer. The king tells Touya that the princess has a magical eye and can see the special powers of a person. That's when Touya realizes why she has been looking at his pants all day long, and tells them that he can only marry her 2 years from now, when he has had his fun with the rest of the women while winking at the queen. After that, he goes down to get some rest, but ends up getting a call from the god and thinks why gods are such a cunt. The god congratulates him on his engagement and gives him a very important advice by saying that these hoes ain't loyal before he cuts the call and goes to sleep. The next day, he comes back to his motel alongside Yumi, totally blindsiding the rest of the girls who were already having trouble distributing Touya's manliness amongst themselves. Yumi declares that from now on, she will be living with Touya himself and will also register in the guild. Later that day, they all go inside of the forest because Yumi wanted to test her skills. They decided to take a quest to hunt some monkeys, as Touya thought that shouldn't be very difficult. After a while, Yumi decides to use a summon magic, and immediately a bunch of good boys appear from a magic circle and run inside of the forest to find these apes. While everyone was praising Yumi for her magic, suddenly there is a big noise and huge damn gorillas appear from the bushes, chasing the doggies. Yumi immediately flexes her skills by headshotting one of the apes while Yi finishes it off. Linze uses her firestorm magic to create some barbecued apes while Yumi headshots another one of them. Finally, Elze decides to enter the fray and punches one of the apes dead, while Linze and Yumi both use lightning and fire magic arrows to kill the remaining 2 gorillas, ending the fight. They all seem to be happy with Yumi, and somehow this man succeeds in juggling so many girls at once. After reaching back at the motel, Yumi starts teaching Touya how to perform summoning magic, and even in his first try, he ends up calling a big black entity who transforms into a giant white tiger in front of him. Yumi gets taken aback because it is one of the rarest beasts you can get, but Touya decides to put his hand on the tiger's forehead, but after realizing Toya's magic abilities, the tiger literally gets knocked out. After that, the tiger becomes a little witch and is now Toya's pet, who names her Kohaku. Touya then tells the tiger to become smaller because he can't move in public with him, so the tiger immediately becomes a cute little cat. The next day, Touya and company decide to take a quest to investigate a castle which used to be a research ground for slimes, and only Touya seems to be excited about it. After reaching the castle, Touya enters first and a giant basin falls on top of his head, which turns out to be a slime. They move forward into a library where they find one book which still contains information about the slimes present. They take the book alongside them and move forward into the castle, where suddenly they notice a bunch of green slimes that are known for eating clothes. The girls immediately get creeped out by them, but Touya surprisingly looks pretty fine with the girls getting some slime on them, and prevents Linze from using her fire magic on them. He looks towards Kohaku and tells her to deal with the slimes, and immediately she turns into a tiger and uses her bad breath to blast them away. This attack is very ineffective, and they start coming back to them, so Touya tells everyone to climb up the stairs. Elze decides to go forward but ends up slipping because of some slippery substance on the floor. They find a bunch of slimes releasing lotion which Touya uses at night regularly. They all end up slipping down the stairs, but Kohaku ends up grabbing Touya while the girls fall off into the green slimes. The slimes attack them, and Touya immediately uses his portal to save them, but spends some time looking at their exposed plots for some more plot development. Elze gets mad and punches him in the balls to make sure he doesn't spread his genes anymore. After that, they move through the corridors where they find a bunch of statues that turn out to be special slimes that get attached to the women with less developed plot. They immediately rush towards Yumi, who uses wind magic to kill all of them. After this, the girls hold a vote and decide to burn the entire castle down, as it is only made of lonely degenerates who have never seen a woman in their life. The next day, Touya takes Kohaku into the city to explore, where they spot Yi talking to a girl. He walks up to them. Yi explains that the girl is lost, so Touya uses his search ability to try and find her family, but fails, so he simply takes out his iPhone and uses Google Maps to find her family. He takes the girl with him, and they spot her mom, who is a total elf, talking to a policeman, so they return her back. Yi seems to be really surprised by the features of this iPhone, so she asks him to find whether his stepbrother is fine. They go in a restaurant where she tells him that her stepbrother was very kind and helped her whenever she got stuck in a washing machine. He promises to find him before they go back to the motel. After a while, Linze enters his room and asks his help, as she found an ancient magic scroll that she is unable to read. Touya immediately starts using his brain and creates a pair of magic glasses that can read any language, which lets Linze read the scroll, and she explains that it explains how to use an offensive magic spell. She requests Touya to help him learn this magic, and they both go outside, where Linze tries the water magic attack again and again till she uses all of her mana and collapses in Toya's arm. He takes her back and puts her to bed, but the next day he finds her inside the forest practicing once again. He immediately grabs her arm and sends his magical energy into her body without using any protection. Linze immediately feels better, and he explains that mommy milkers from the king's castle taught him this technique. She decides to try the magic once again, but fails again and tells Touya that she doesn't think she can do it. Touya motivates her once again, and she decides to give it another go, and this time she ends up performing it perfectly and destroys an entire tree. The next day they end up fighting against a rock demon, and Linze uses her new magic to weaken it. while Elze uses her punching gloves to finish the job, which ends up breaking her gloves. He decides to take Elze to the royal capital as she seems a little down, and they replace her gloves while she seems interested in trying on a dress. Touya takes her into a shop where they engage in some role-play action before Yumi ruins him and tells him that he is being called up by the king himself for some important business, which shocks everyone. Touya goes over to the king, and the king ends up giving him an entire mansion for banging his daughter. He arrives at the mansion alongside his harem of ladies, and they all explore the beautiful scenery. After checking inside, he tells the other girls that they should also move in quickly, which surprises them as the mansion was a gift to him and Yumi. But Touya is a gigachad and wants all of the girls for himself, leaving people like me absolutely nothing. He then sits outside playing with the pussy when Yumi calls him in to make him meet the workers there, that includes some irrelevant characters, Lame the butler and 2 ultra-hot maids with good plot development. Lame informs him that the Duke and Sushi have arrived to meet him, and he goes outside alongside Yumi to meet them over some tea. The Duke tells him that they need to make good relations with the neighboring kingdom and tells Touya to become their ambassador, as he has the greatest amount of riz that he has ever seen. Touya agrees, and the next day soldiers from both the kingdoms arrive to accompany him for his travels to keep him safe. During the journey, he plays chess with Olga, while the rest gamble away like total losers. Later that evening, they all create a campfire where Touya tells them the story of Ugly Duckling, which everyone finds very funny when suddenly one of the Beastman's soldier gets up and tells them that they are surrounded by bandits. Touya flexes on the peasants once again and locates all of the bandits on his iPhone before clicking on them and paralyzing them all through his phone. What kind of damn iPhone is this? They capture all of the bandits and tie them up, while Touya notices that Olga seems to be hitting on Lion, the captain of the Royal Knights. The girls force Touya to be a wingman for Lion, so the next day Touya approaches Lion while he was buying some Viagra. He gets embarrassed and lies that it was for his mom, while Touya shows him how to get a girl by telling Olga's younger sister to pick any brooch she wants as he will pay for it. Lion realizes that all the girls are gold diggers, so he also buys an expensive thing for Olga, expecting some action. Later that day, while all of them were passing through the city, Touya and Kohaku both sense that someone was watching them from a hiding place, but aren't able to find the culprit, so they move on with the caravan. Olga informs him that they won't be able to reach the village tonight, so they decide to camp for the night when suddenly a lot of animals in the forest start shouting. Suddenly they look up and are horrified to see a giant dragon flying over them. Olga informs Touya that there must be an intruder in the dragon's home, and that's why the dragon is furious. Touya takes out his iPhone once again and tells them that the dragon is going towards the village, so they quickly rush towards it, but are a bit too late. The entire village is burning like a Canadian forest fire as the dragon rains hell from above. The soldiers start trying to save the villagers while Touya uses his light magic to throw a spear at the dragon. The dragon dodges and counters with a flame blast, which is dodged as Touya jumps on Kohaku and runs away. He dodges the fire blasts and picks up Linze while getting a thick cake in his face and starts running towards the clearing. Once out of the village, he turns around to face the dragon while Kohaku hurls some Call of Duty trash talk towards the dragons. Touya uses his fancy multiple light magic spears and blasts them at the dragon, who gets pierced full of holes before falling down. Linze immediately uses her water magic, cutting off his wings as the dragon turns towards her and shoots fire at her. Touya saves her at the last moment while Yi jumps in and blinds him with her sword, while Elze punches him with Thanos' infinity gauntlet, but nothing happens. Touya remembers that he is the main hero, so he jumps in and tries to end the battle, but his sword shatters easily, but he is saved by someone who throws a knife in the dragon's eye. The dragon goes berserk and starts burning everything, so Touya says same to you and burns him back, while Linze creates a lens and he uses his light magic to burn the dragon, who falls over and dies. Suddenly, a huge red damn dragon arrives and apologizes for the problem created by the black dragon. The white tiger doesn't believe in Black Lives Matter, but Touya shuts him up and accepts the apology while the red dragon flies away back to his home. After all was done, they all helped restore the entire village and heal the wounded and fall asleep in the morning. After having an excellent sleep, Touya and company are ready to move again, but before he could leave the village, he is approached by the village elder who thanks him for his help and gives him the dragon's fang as a gift for helping them. They also give him a small knife that they found in the dragon's eye, which reminds him of that incident. After saying their goodbyes, they get into the caravan and Touya asks Kohaku whether anyone else was there last night, and she replies that there were two mysterious figures in the jungle who threw the knife at the dragon. Touya lets it go for the time being as they finally reach the kingdom whose palace is basically the Taj Mahal. They bow down before the king, who thanks them for saving the village and defeating the dragon. Yumi introduces herself to the king, who seems to be pleased to have the princess at his palace. She gives him the documents for their alliance and he takes it before telling them to enjoy their stay at the palace. Before letting them go, the king asks Touya whether he defeated the dragon and then challenges him to a duel. They go inside of an arena where a minister apologizes to him, explaining that the king needs a good spanking, and only he can do that. The king himself seems to be a total gym bro as he gets ready with his weapons, and the match starts. As soon as the bell rings, Touya uses his slip magic on the king, making him fall, and then puts his sword on his throat, winning the match. He starts walking away, but the king starts crying like a witch and tells him not to use that magic. Round 2 begins and the king rushes in with an attack which is blocked by Touya, but the king seems to be physically stronger and pushes him back. Touya rushes in for a quick attack, but the king disappears and tries to slash him from behind, but Touya dodges it. He then decides to use an acceleration spell and appears behind the king, which shocks him, and soon enough both of them start using the speed spell to fight. The king again seems to have the advantage, but Touya disappears once again, and the next time they clash he is able to bring his sword faster than the king and wins the round. Later that evening, a giant celebration is organized and everyone arrives dressed in ethnic clothes. All the girls in Touya's harem are dressed in Indian attire, which gives him a stiffy, so he quickly takes their picture with their phone. The king also wants some, so he asks him to print the picture and give it to him as well, so he can use it to forget his loneliness at night. Touya sits down in a silent corner with his phone to release some of the pressure from his mind and pants when suddenly a teddy bear walks past and signals to follow him. They enter a room which is filled with furniture as the teddy walks up and sits on the lap of a loli sitting in a chair. Touya thinks about how creepy this situation is when the loli speaks up and tells him that she has heard about his exploits. Touya thanks her and asks about the weird teddy bear, to which she replies that she has a special null magic which lets her bring normal objects to life. She demonstrates it on a chair and it hooks Touya in, who wants to try as well. He performs the same magic on the chair, and as soon as he sits on it, it starts moving, which surprises the loli. The loli starts getting excited, which freaks Touya out as his stamina for the day is completely over, so he runs outside and locks himself in his room. The next morning he goes down and ends up meeting Linze and Yumi, who were out for a leisurely stroll. Touya remembers the dragon fang that he has and takes them both into the gardens and asks Linze to use her magic to cut the bones up. After the bones are sliced, he uses his magic to convert the bones into a gun and some bullets like a true American. He then uses his newly learned magic to automate the reloading of the girl and then shoots some rounds at a very innocent tree. The girls start getting sweatier at the sight of this gun and beg Touya to make them one, so like a very responsible man, he creates some guns for them to play as well. Damn Americans. He then uses some more magic to make his gun transform into a sword at will, and finally calls it a day and goes to the town with the girls to get some lunch. While coming back in the evening, he senses someone observing him, so he tells Kohaku to protect the girls and uses his speed magic to appear behind the observers, who use a flashbang and run away. His ultra high-tech iPhone follows them, and he is easily able to catch up before shooting them both with rubber bullets. He ties them up and then tries to remove their mask before grabbing a handful of some very juicy plot. He removes the masks to find the ultra-hot maids inside, who apologize for following him, but explain that they were ordered by the king to follow Yumi. Hearing this, he lets them go and walks back to the palace. The next day, he uses his portal magic to connect the two kingdoms, and the king comes to meet the Beast King from the royal capital and cement their alliance. Touya returns alongside his party through the portal back to his mansion and ends up falling on the bed into a small coma. Later the next morning, Touya decides to pass some more time and starts creating bicycles just when the Duke arrives. He seems to be pretty interested, so Touya lets him ride, but he falls off immediately. He makes some more bikes for the girls as well, and they all start trying to learn it as quickly as possible to impress Touya. They have a competition to get Toya's love, which the Duke ends up winning. But after they all were totally exhausted, the Duke requests him to make another smaller bicycle for Sushi. Touya agrees and goes to the town to get some materials when he spots some noise in an alleyway. He follows the voice and finds two men with knives ganging up on a girl dressed in ragged clothes. Touya tells them to piss off, and when they don't back off, he immediately shoots both of them with the dream to make America great again. He tells the girl to forget what she saw, but she starts following him, so he gets her some food and they start talking. She tells him that she is homeless. Her mom died and her father left to get milk a couple years ago. Touya relates to the girl, so he takes her in his mansion and makes her one of his maids under the supervision of Leen, the lame-ass butler. The next day, he ends up going to the Beast Kingdom on Sushi's request alongside Yumi, where they end up meeting Olga's sister Arma. She seems to be glad to see them when suddenly they spot Olga alongside Lion walking through the streets. They decide to follow them for no reason, and when they go inside a cafe to eat, Touya uses Netflix to watch what's happening inside. When they were coming outside, they all run away, but Arma ends up colliding with a hooded man and falls down. The hooded man turns out to be the Beast King, who has a hobby of walking through the streets with a cloak on, as it makes him feel like Batman. They all watch the two lovebirds in the park when suddenly some hooligans start harassing one of the vendors and destroying his stuff. Lion immediately gets up for his defense, but the ugly man takes out knives to threaten him. The Beast King and Touya both wear the most useless masks and beat the shit out of all of the thugs, thinking that they can't be recognized, but Lion easily identifies them. Beast King immediately runs away, but Lion catches Touya before he could disappear. Later that evening, Touya returns back to his mansion when Leen tells him that he has guests. The guests turn out to be lowly and the green-haired thought named Charlotte, who are totally thirsting for our boy. They all sit down for some tea when the lowly tells Touya that she heard about his fight with the crystal insect. She informs him that they even found a similar monster in one of the ruins, but weren't able to defeat them, and she wants to know more about it. Now she wants to go to Ishin, the place where Yi comes from, and tells Touya that there is a way to go there. She makes both him and Yi stand in a circle, and they grab hands and knock foreheads, which shows Touya how Ishin looks like. After that, the lowly tells him to transport all of them to Ishin, and with a simple spell, they all are immediately sent to the land called Ishin. They look around the area for a bit and enjoy the wilderness before Yi takes them to her town through the forest. They go inside the town where everything seems to be from ancient Japan, which surprises Linze, Elze, and Yumi, who all belong to a country that looks more like ancient Europe. Being from Japan, Touya is able to explain about all the different things, which impresses Yi, who immediately takes them to her home so Touya can meet her parents. Yi asks about her father and brother, which saddens her mother as she informs her that the lord of this area has taken them to battle and that they are currently surrounded by a bunch of soldiers inside of a fortress. Yi gets scared and looks back at Touya begging him to let her help her family, and as expected, Touya immediately agrees and transports them all to a nearby area. He then tells her that he will use his portal to enter the fortress alone, and if everything seems to be fine, only then will he call the rest of them. After that, he uses the portal and simply walks inside of the fortress, where he is immediately surrounded by guards while Yi's brother Judah holds a sword to his neck. Touya immediately tells them that he is a friend of Yi, which surprises Judah, but he still doesn't fully believe him and asks him to show Yi. Hearing this, he immediately opens the portal once again, and Yi comes running and hugs her stepbrother lovingly while the rest of Touya's harem follows. Touya looks out to see thousands of zombified soldiers with an enchanted mask walking towards the fortress, and the defending forces are unable to stop them. Most of the men are tired and injured while the enemies keep approaching. Yi asks whether her father is all right, and Judah tells her that their father is with the Lord, protecting him. After that, Touya gets a read of the situation and uses his phone to heal all of the injured soldiers inside the fortress. That surprises Judah, who thinks he is some kind of a witch. Yi tells her to calm down as Touya is just cool like that, and he proves it by marking all of the enemies on his floor and then using an incredibly powerful lightning spear attack on all of them simultaneously, ending the battle at once. After that, they are called upon by the Lord, who introduces himself as Yae and thanks them for their help, but tells them that the war is far from over. According to the Yae, the lord of the nearby kingdom was captured and put inside of the jail by a very powerful and manipulative enemy who is creating all these monsters in hopes of conquering the world. Before they can talk any further, a ninja woman descends from above carrying some heavy plot with her. She introduces herself as Tsuki, who is under the direct command of the former lord of the neighboring kingdom. She explains that he is currently in prison, but wants Yae's help to regain control over the area and defeat the villain. Touya decides to help the neighboring lord while Yae gets ready to prepare some horses for him, but Touya refuses and simply tells Tsuki to close her eyes and remember the camp while he holds her hands, making the other girls green with envy. He uses his magic and figures out the location of the area where the enemies are camped and tells everyone that he will go there alongside Tsuki and the loli. He tells the loli to use an invisible spell on herself and him, surprising Tsuki. The loli takes advantage of this situation and starts juggling with Tsuki's personality and then blames it on Touya. After that, he tries to create a portal to the prison inside the camp but fails to do so, and the loli tells him that the enemy has used a special spell to prevent them from teleporting in. Thankfully, Tsuki is allowed to go inside the camp, and they simply follow her underground to the jail cell in which the previous lord is kept. The lord introduces himself as Baba and thanks Touya as he simply makes a hole in the prison cell, which can't compare to the one in my heart, and they start moving forward to free the other prisoners. They free the other two young men while Touya searches for the enemy named Yama, but is unable to find him on his phone. The loli tells him that a special item is blocking his magic, so they go outside and find the item with mysterious purple energy coming through. After that, Touya simply takes out his gun and makes America proud before using his phone to create several magic circles in the area and raining blasts from above. Following that, they are finally able to teleport themselves to Yama, who wears an eye patch to try and look cool. One of the idiots rushes towards him, but his attack is immediately blocked by a zombified samurai. The samurai then jumps ahead and tries to slash Baba, who barely dodges the attack. Even Tsuki starts crying at this, but Touya simply gets out his gun and blasts him straight in the face, shocking everybody. Yama gets taken aback, but starts laughing like a maniac and takes out his eye patch to show a special red stone which grants him immortality, and that's the stone he was using to control the dead soldiers. Everyone thinks the battle is lost, but Touya shows them his pull-out game magic and grabs the stone in his hand. Yama gets shocked and immediately starts crying, while Touya gives the stone to Loli, who says that the stone is corrupt, so she throws it in the air, and Touya shoots it into a million pieces. Yama immediately doesn't feel so good and withers away into dust while cursing Thanos. The next day, Touya tells Baba about their quest to find the ruins in this area, and he tells them that there is an island where the ruins are rumored to be. He uses his magic to find it, and then they go back to Yi's house where her parents thank Touya and bid their daughter farewell before Touya uses his portal and transports them to the island. The girls immediately start playing in the water while Touya searches for the location for the ruins in his iPhone and gets surprised when he finds out that the ruins are under the water. Before he can think any further, the girls run up to him and request him to get them some swimming suits as they want to enjoy this vacation. After a while, Touya ends up agreeing and uses his portal to go back to the kingdom and invites the entire royal family with him for a vacation. Soon enough, the girls change into their swimsuits and start comparing who has a better plot and start playing in water while the king, the duke, and the general are all having a race inside of the ocean. Touya decides to get some work done as well and uses a protection magic on his iPhone before diving underwater to find the ruins. After a couple of minutes, he ends up locating it, but he starts losing oxygen and is forced to come back on land. After that, he informs the loli about this latest development and asks her whether she knows of any spells that will let him breathe underwater for a longer time. The loli tells him that she doesn't know about any such spells as she doesn't like swimming and calls the green-haired mage. She asks her about any such spells, but even she is completely useless and doesn't know any such spells. Suddenly, Kohaku ends up speaking and informs Touya that there is another heavenly beast similar to her who has the ability to swim underwater for as long as it wants, and if Touya can forge a pact with the beast, then even he can swim underwater with ease. Touya looks at Loli, who tells him that they can try, and they go to a secluded area where Loli draws a magic circle and Touya starts chanting the spell to summon beasts. He calls upon the heavenly creature, and suddenly the shadow transforms into a giant damn turtle with a snake wrapped around its shell. The turtle recognizes Kohaku and starts talking to her while totally ignoring Touya, and then asks about him. Kohaku tells the turtle that she is now Toya's pet, which surprises the turtle, but Kohaku promises that Touya is incredibly strong and tells the turtle to forge a pact with him. The turtle looks at Touya and challenges him to a duel and tells him that if Touya can remain standing by the time the sun sets, he will agree to forge a pact. Touya immediately agrees to the fight, and before the turtle can even attack, he simply uses his slip magic, making the turtle fall on its back. He then immediately puts a magical bullet in his evolver and shoots the turtle, which results in the turtle being unable to get up without slipping. After a while, the turtle starts crying like a loser and begs Touya to stop and agrees to form a pact with him, acknowledging his power. Touya names him Sango and tells him to reduce its size, and the turtle obliges, becoming a smaller version who can float in the air. After the sun sets, Touya decides to go in the water and find the ruins, and the Sango immediately latches onto his shoulders, which gives him the ability to breathe and walk underwater. He enters the ruins and ends up arriving at a special room with gems placed in a circle. He goes inside and touches the center gem, and suddenly the entire room starts glowing brightly, and the next time Touya opens his eyes, he finds himself in a totally different place that looks like a garden. Before he can figure it out, a green-haired girl walks up to him and introduces herself as Francesca, the protector of this garden. He asks her where they are, and she explains that they are currently thousands of feet above the ground, floating in the endless sky in an aerial garden which was created by a scientist named Regina. She tells him that the magic circle that he entered underwater was a sort of teleportation device which led him to the garden. After roaming around, he asks her why can't they see the garden from the ground, but she replies that the garden is always invisible to anyone until they come inside of Regina, was a very paranoid woman and created a bunch of defenses, and even created her as a half-robot and half-human magical being as the protector. She looks at Touya and tells him that she finds him a suitable candidate to be the owner of the garden and asks whether he would accept. He is totally stunned at this proposal as he knows nothing about what's happening. She explains that only a person who can use all the different types of elemental magic can be teleported through the magic circle, and it was only used once by the creator of the garden herself 5,000 years ago. Now that she has found a suitable candidate, she tells Touya that she will be her servant from now on. Back on the beach, the girls start getting worried about Touya as it has been a while since he went inside, but their worries are squashed when Touya appears through the portal and brings all of them aboard the aerial garden. The Loli immediately recognizes the technology as artifacts belonging to a lost civilization which was technologically very advanced. He introduces everyone to Francesca, who lies that Touya wants to marry her, which makes the rest of the girls jealous and they get mad at him. Yumi, however, controls the situation and takes the girls out for a walk where she proposes that she is willing to share Touya with them and wants them all to marry him. Meanwhile, the Loli interrogates Francesca some more and asks whether there are any magical weapons or treasure nearby, but she refuses, telling her that the garden is a part of multiple aerial structures created by Regina 5,000 years ago, and there are 9 more aerial structures like this, including a giant library. The Loli immediately starts getting excited at the thought of all the knowledge she could gain, but Francesca replies that she doesn't know where any of the other structures are. By that time, the rest of the girls also join in the conversation, and Linze tells him to use his smartphone, but there is no sign of any such areas. Suddenly, Francesca gets up and, like an Indian scam caller, tells Touya that he will have to complete registration. Unlike an Indian scammer, however, she starts giving him CPR, and after that tells him that the garden belongs to him now. Linze gets up and tells Francesca that her technique was wrong and shows her the correct way of CPR while the others watch. They all return back to their mansion where Yumi enters Touya's room and makes him confess his feelings for Linze, which he does. And immediately after that he is called to the training grounds by Elze and Yae. They both seem to have something on their mind and tells Touya to have a sparring session with them without using magic, and after some hesitation he ends up agreeing. The battle starts and he takes out his sword and blocks Yae's attack while dodging Elze's punch. Yae throws a knife at him, but he dodges and fills her full of holes with his gun before dodging and counter-attacking Elze, knocking her to the ground with the gun in his hands. He tells her to surrender, but she doesn't, and to Touya's surprise, he doesn't have any more bullets as his pouch seems to have been cut intentionally when Yae threw a knife. Elze uses this distraction and knocks him out, winning the battle. When he wakes up, all 4 of the girls are standing in front of him, and Yumi tells him that she and the others have decided that they all want to marry him and see the power of his magic wand. Touya gets embarrassed because of his below-average wand and teleports to the garden where he tells his problems to Francesca, who brings out a tablet and attaches a special cable which lets him talk to the creator of the garden, Regina. Regina tells him that her civilization used to be one of the most advanced that anyone has ever seen with Transformers and Jurassic Park, but one day an app called TikTok was released which led their generation into a deep hole of degeneracy and they all got extinct. She tells him never to use TikTok and asks whether he has any problems. He informs her about his small wand size, so she tells him to talk to the god, which is a very good idea, and he immediately uses a portal to find the god who is watching the Game of Thrones. He greets Touya, who immediately tells him about his problem, and the god decides to call upon the goddess of love, who tells him that he just needs to increase his stamina, and then all the problems will disappear. He returns back to the mansion where he assembles his harem and tells them that he cannot marry them right now as he wants their plot to get developed a bit more, and he also wants to work upon his stamina, but promises to marry all of them one day.
Take